Today, on Be Something Wonderful, I rested in I Am, created a simple imaginal scene, and bent reality. I am your host, Tom Kearin, and this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of higher consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Creators, welcome back. Here we are back in our studios in Las Vegas, Nevada, USA. Great to be back, and I have a powerful video for you this morning. This came from with back-to-back sessions last night. After I got in, I still had sessions. And what's remarkable about both of these sessions is they're very similar to an experience, a video that I shared about Michael, who's now had, I think that I did 3 videos on his realization, his awareness of his I amness and asserting his reality. This is very similar in a way, although both of these clients got caught up a little bit in 3D conditions before they really stood in that knowing of I am, then created an imaginal scene of their desired end, and then moved to that reality in absolute certainty and conviction that it's their only reality. I want to share this. So these clients, back-to-back sessions, has his own consulting practices or have their own consulting practices. They have a client that has been raving about them. In both cases, they had a client that was really into them, really very happy with their services. And then they took actions. So in both of these cases, they hadn't heard from this client, their sort of star client that was raving about them. Interesting. And in both cases, they took actions. And they said, one of them said some of it felt inspired, right? They took actions. They were reaching out. They were calling and they were emailing. So the whole question came up that, Tom, what's inspired action? And what's action that's not inspired, that's trying to make something happen? But really remember, when you're in the assumption of your desired end, all your actions become enchanted. All your actions become inspired. Right? But when you're not in that assumption of your desired end, when you're not resting in that conviction, when you're not resting in that imaginal scene that feels real to you, that is your only reality, then no matter what actions you take that you feel might be correct actions or righteous, quote, righteous actions, they'll never lead to that desired end because you're not in the assumption, you're not conscious of being that person for whom and through whom that reality is real. So they took actions, and then they said, both of them in different ways, said it just went cold. One of them said no movement, one of them said cold, another said, something like that, or he hadn't heard from them, right? What was the assumption in both of these cases? I haven't heard from them, I wonder what happened. That was their assumption. That's where those actions were coming from, trying to make something happen. They were coming from a feeling of lack, need, something I had, I no longer have. Do you see it? So those actions are not inspired. Those are coming from lack. Those are coming from need. They're coming from something to get something moving, to make something happen, right? Remember, what's the script here based on that assumption? In that script that they're following, on this assumption that I haven't heard from them and I wonder what happened, that's the script. Nothing they do in 3D reality, no actions, whether they believe it's inspired or not, will lead to that desired outcome because they're getting pulled or moved by the script. The script says do something. You haven't heard from them, right? They're getting pulled in by that pendulum, by that script, by that. They feel like they're taking free will. They feel like their actions are free will, but they're being led by that script. They're trapped by the script. No matter what actions I take, nothing happens. That's the script that's playing out, right? The script, remember, is written. Course in Miracles says that. Creation is finished, Neville Goddard. What does that mean? It means all possible realities, all possible scripts, all possible film rolls, all possible parallel possibilities exist in this moment of now. And with you taking actions, with you making this assumption, I haven't heard from them, I wonder what happened. You're moving to that, you're trapped in that current frame, you're trapped in that current script, and you're moving to other unfavorable scripts where things are not working out, where you're wondering what's happening, right? So I really want to get this. And so here's the film roll, the script, the parallel reality, alternative reality. Remember, we've talked about that there are infinite scripts or film rolls or frames of reality. Every frame is a moment in time, right? Quote, time, linear time. But it's a moment in the now. There is no time. The only time is when we create the horizontal experience in linear time. We connect these frames. We thread these frames together. These frames are all independent moments, all independent realities. But you connect them and create these film rolls, these parallel realities, these scripts, right? But here's the issue. Here's what was going on with both of these clients. They were in the present frame, in the present reality, where nothing was happening. Haven't heard from them. And they were taking action with their attention and focus on the inner and outer screens. The inner screen, the outer screen is the outer people, events, and circumstances. Nothing's happening. I haven't heard from him. One of my best clients, he's really happy with me. Oh, why haven't I heard from him? Nothing's happening out there, right? Crickets. One of the clients said they just got crickets, right? Then you're also focused on the inner screen of your thoughts and feelings about those events, right? Maybe they found another consultant. They don't like me anymore, or my methods. Do you see it? It's the thoughts. It's these two screens, or a combination of these screens, is where your focus and attention is. And that is, then you're being pulled by the script when your attention is either on the inner screen or on the outer screen. What do you want then? You want it on the awareness center. We're going to hit this with our next flip chart, right? You want to focus on the center. You want to get on that I am center, on the assumption of your wish fulfilled. So trying to change the script that has been written traps you in the current frame, traps you in this frame. And you take actions in this frame, and it's all an illusion. Nothing changes with those actions. Nothing changes with whatever you do. It traps you in the current frame and moves you to similar or even more unfavorable realities. So let's hit it. When your attention is immersed in the present frame, as I've talked about, that blue frame is your present frame, right? Remember, that's even the past. There's only the eternal now where all frames exist. So when you're trapped in that current frame, that present frame, with your focus moving between the inner feelings, the inner screen of thoughts and feelings, or the outer screen of people, events, and circumstances, no matter what right action or believed inspired action that you take, you get trapped in a script, in a film roll that you don't want and didn't choose. Do you see it? When your attention's either here, or both of those, you're not in the awareness center. You're not in the center that, yeah, I know those thoughts and feelings are there, and I know these conditions are there, but I'm lighting up my assumption. I'm lighting up my future. I'm lighting up, quote, the reality or the frame of reality that I desire, right? When you're not, you're trapped in that frame. You're trapped in that script, right? So instead, move to the awareness center of I am, right? The assumption and conviction of fulfillment. And this is what that one of my clients said. I'm just going to rest in I am. And then he goes, I am just going to rest in I am. And then I created a quick little scene, an image, right? Imagine an image of my desired reality. That's what that purple or that violet color represents. Your future or your desired reality. And he created, and one of them said, I created one of how pumped and happy the client is with my work. And the other said, I imagined them happy. I imagined them reaching out to me. In both of those cases, what happened as they imagined that? They moved to, as Mike said in that video that I shared yesterday, the day before actually. Mike said, I've moved into full I am. Well, that's what you're doing here. But remember, you don't really ever move into full I am. You're always full I am. You're moving into the awareness of that fullness, the awareness of that fulfillment, right? Then I'm just going to rest in my I am. Both of them talked about it in different ways of recognizing that reality already exists within them. And then what happens? Well, both of those clients reach out, and I'll show you how they did it. Film roll, script, parallel reality, there it is. Remember, it's all past. All scripts are written. All realities exist. All potential. You're either in the past, the past present, or the past future, but it's all past, right? Do you see it? Every film roll, every script exists. But when we're on it, we're in that linear horizontal experience, we believe there's a past, there's a present, and there's a future. But it's all past. It's past future, past present, past. That's why psychics or clairvoyants sometimes can see, and there's really a high percent of accuracy with many of them, what events are taken, but what they're looking at is the past. That's why they can see it. because even the future's past. All events exist, and they all exist now. So if you're tuned in, like some gifted psychics are, they can see that, right? So remember, you got the inner screen of thoughts and feelings, the outer screen of manifested 3D conditions. This is where normally our focus is, trying to do things to make things happen, wondering what happened with the clients. I'll reach out, I'll send emails. Nothing happened, crickets, when they did all that, because their focus wasn't on the assumption of the desired end. It wasn't in the awareness center, right? In both cases, the clients reached out, they raved about them, and in both cases, as they focused on that desired end, as they moved into the awareness center, knowing that the manifested 3D conditions are there, those thoughts and feelings are there, but not trying to reconcile either, not trying to fix either of them, but instead going to the awareness center, right? That I am awareness. That is your I am. That is where all power is, right? Remember what Jesus said to Pontius Pilate, to those conditions. Jesus said, you would have no power over me unless it were given from above, from that I am, right? So in both cases, the clients reached out, they raved about them more, and they planned more sessions. One got a $5,000 check as he moved to that awareness center in one of the cases, right? Not only did that client say, yeah, I want to work with you more, sent an advance payment, right? Before Abraham, I am. That means, remember, I talk about John 8:58. Yes, it says before Abraham was, I am. And there's debate about the comma, but I debunk that. It's just before Abraham, I am. Before Abraham, all possibilities, right? Before you get caught up in the outer screen of manifested conditions, the inner screen of thoughts and feelings, it's just I am. All realities exist right now. All possibilities exist right now. All of them are past, meaning all of them are potential. And all of those exist right now in potential. And everything's been created before Abraham, I am, before everything, before time, before space, before anything. I am, they all exist. But you light them up. You decide what part of that, all that you are, that you want to experience next. So powerful today. Remember, actions don't create reality. You do. Your I am, your assumptions. Right? So it doesn't, when you ask, I don't know if they're inspired or not, it doesn't matter. What matters is the assumption that you're coming from. But your awareness on the awareness center on I am, and then all of your actions, no matter what you think or feel about them, hear this, are enchanted, are inspired by the great I am, are inspired by your assumption, and they all lead to what you want. But when you're not in that awareness center, when you're caught on the inner screen or the outer screen, thoughts and feelings or circumstances, events, then it doesn't matter what things that you believe you're doing right, righteous action, or what actions you believe are inspired, nothing leads to it because you're not lighting it up, you're not focused on it. When your attention and focus is in the awareness center, assumption of wish already fulfilled, I am that, then it doesn't matter what action you take that appears wrong or unrighteous. Right? It becomes enchanted. And in one of my cases, one of the clients emailed, even after they moved in to that awareness center, after they declared it and they saw the image, they still sent up a follow-up email. Do you see it? But it didn't prevent that client from reaching out. It wasn't trying to make something happen. That was coming from true inspiration because he was already in his awareness center. He was lighting up that frame. He knew where he was. He answered the question that Jesus asked his disciples, who do you say I am? But who do you say I am? Yeah, you could tell me about Jeremiah and all and the prophets, but who do you? That's what my client did. And then he did send an email. And that's when that client responded to that email from alignment, that email from awareness center, right? The other one didn't do any actions, right? Just felt that didn't, remember, that's inspired action not to take action as well. It's all inspired. I sent a proposal for the next 3 months of sessions, even as I had heard nothing, right? And so this one client sent a proposal for 3 months of session, even as they heard nothing, even followed up with an email while standing in my conviction. That's the one that got the $5,000, right? Because remember, he did it from fulfillment. He had sent all that stuff before, emails and phone calls, but it was going nowhere. It was crickets until he went to the awareness center, until he lined up. The other client that I have didn't take any action, but that client's now back with him, and they're now discussing the next steps, the next consulting agreement that they're going to do. Remember, his client, I meant to follow up and ask you to send your thoughts on the next step. Then that client even said to him, I meant to follow up and ask you to send your thoughts on the next step. It was already, remember, it could have gone any way, depending on their assumptions. It could have been, I wish you would stop sending me emails. I like you, I want to be with you, but I'm not ready yet. But instead he said, his client, I meant to follow up and ask you to send your thoughts on our next step. There it is. In both cases, right? One, not taking any action, inspired not to do anything after sending a flurry of emails and reaching out. And the other, inspired to send a proposal, inspired to reach out, even after not getting any responses from anything else. So do you see, it's not about the action, whether to take it or not, or do something or not. There's always action. There's nothing to do. Remember what the Magician's Way says in the book on the Magician's Way. There's nothing to do, but there's always action to take. And whether that action is taking no action and just resting, taking the inner action of resting in fulfillment, or actually taking 3D action while you're also resting in fulfillment, they're all going to lead to what you want when you're in the absolute conviction of that I am, when you're in the absolute conviction, when you're lighting up that future frame as we showed you. I rested in I am and created a simple imaginal scene and bent reality. Both creating those simple imaginal scenes, resting in that I am, and then bending reality, hearing from those clients. I am your host, Tom Kearin, and this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of higher consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Creators, thank you. Thank you for being with me. Thank you for liking and sharing and commenting on the videos. Thank you for being a part of our Facebook group. It's growing like crazy. And you can join the group at facebook.com/groups/Be Something Wonderful. Those are the Be Something Wonderful ambassadors, where you can share insight and guidance with others and ask for insight and guidance. Thank you for joining us on our Instagram and Twitter at Tom Kearin, and for joining our membership channel. More and more you are joining. Thank you. There'll be more content coming out. Another video coming out shortly on that. Also a live stream will be planned, the next live stream on that. Thank you for joining. If you've already joined, there's a link below. And if you would like to join, join us. I am your host, Tom Kearin, guys, coming to you, creators, from Las Vegas. Great to be back with you here in the States, but really wherever we are, we're always together with great love, with great light, and infinite gratitude. This is Tom. We'll see you soon.